Welcome to The Balancing Act, the podcast for mastering work, wealth and well-being, with me, your author and host, Sarah Brennand. Here we explore conversations, insights and expert advice through the lens of what truly drives high performance and sustainable success, aligning your money and mission, strengthening your mental and physical health, and creating a more intentional work-life balance. Each week, I'm joined by leaders, professionals and specialists who share how they navigate their own balancing act, along with practical tools and strategies that you can apply in yours. Welcome to Balancing Act. I'm Sarah Brennand, and today's episode is something a little different. As many of you know, throughout the writing of my book Balancing Act, I recorded a series of long-form interviews with leaders and high performers whose insights helped shape key chapters and ideas. Today's episode is one of them, an extended interview with Floyd Woodrow MBE DCM. Floyd is a former SAS major, the creator of the Compass for Life model and chairman of the Quantum Group. His work spans military leadership, performance psychology, business innovation and values-driven development, and his thinking sits behind several sections in the book, especially the chapters on clarity, mission and the alignment required for sustainable success. You'll hear us explore his journey, the role of instinct and discipline, and the way he continues to evolve his own Super North Star across different stages of life. So, settle in and join me for this extended conversation with Floyd Woodrow, recorded as part of the creation of Balancing Act. Floyd, welcome and thank you for joining me. You've achieved success across so many areas, your military career, your work in education and leadership, and as chairman of the Quantum Group. Many people would look at any of those roles as a major achievement in its own right. So I'd love to start by asking, how have you created success across such different domains? Was it intentional or something that evolved over time? And how has that journey shaped who you are and the work that you do today?
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. I was smiling actually when you talk about, oh, that's successful. I suppose I've never seen it in that particular way. I've just looked at it as roles and things that I've done that I was really looking forward to doing, to try to test myself or to experience things in a different way, to learn things. I never look at the success of I finished something, therefore that's it, I've done everything I need to do. I just thought there were parts of my journey, and if you take it from the military perspective, I just wanted to see how good I could be. I wanted to test myself mentally and physically. I went into an environment that I loved every single second I was in it. It was made for me. I wanted that ability to be pushed, to have an environment that was very challenging, but very entrepreneurial, that was about your own abilities, but that you had to work as a team, that you were working on something that was much bigger than yourself, which is obviously to keep people safe generally, and to help promote what this nation's looking to do, make sure that everybody's safe and secure. And so I had a phenomenal career. All the way through that career, I was just learning skills and having experiences, enjoying life. But strangely enough, I just realized I wasn't growing. And so I thought I prepped really early on. I always had my eye on, I will leave the military at some stage. I didn't know when that was going to be, but I thought I'll study law. So I started to study law. I really enjoyed law. Thought I could be an interesting profession, which I've always been guided by my intuition. There was something that drew me towards law. But what then happened is I started to look at psychology because I was trying to research better, be a better studier, better reader. I realized that there was some phenomenal science behind how people perform, what they think, what they do. And that probably is my biggest fascination, which is about human performance. Fundamentally, from my perspective, how do I do this? Why do I do that well? Why do I not do that as well? And then why do people work? So I've always run training teams and coaching. So I was fascinated by what makes people different. So those were the kind of themes that drew me on, and the realization I'm leaving the military because I wasn't growing. I think fundamentally I'd done everything I possibly could, had a phenomenal career, did all the best jobs, and then realized I need to go into business. So just stepped into business. I didn't even think about, it wasn't a loss to leave the military. A little bit sad, but nothing significant because I prepped to leave. And now I was on another journey. And so I threw myself fully into that, which was about learning about business. Came out right at the time of the first crash. So I learned a lot about business in the first 6 months. Really interesting. Learning how to adapt, how to have a different ability to pivot in certain areas. Realized that actually it's a bit scarier in business as well, because I wasn't as skilled. So I'm coming into a place where I'm a novice, so I'm having to, again, relearn some skills, but also I could rely on some of the skills that I had, which is probably why I look at life as being a journey, is because I had so many great tools that I could now transfer into any area. And they stood up under pressure as well. They stood up my ability to lead, to communicate, to make decisions, to pivot quickly, have a strategy, also follow my values and things like that, as well as be resilient. That all came to the fore. And then I managed to adapt. I looked at going into other businesses because the business I was in didn't do well. I'd formed my own business coaching company, and then I started to come across businesses where there were opportunities. So I started to really look at what they looked like, again, on a learning journey. And I now run obviously Quantum with a number of different companies within it, which has been, again, there's not a success element there. They've gone on to become really successful, and there's loads of opportunity for them to become even more. But I'm not judging myself by that. I've just learned a lot of skills and lots of opportunities. And during this, as you know, I developed a program called Compass for Life, which is something that I use with children, I use with prisoners, young offenders, but I also work with multinational sports teams, and I also work with businesses around the world. I've worked in every culture, I think, every religion, and the program just stands the test of time. And I can see that being something where my success will be when that's an international academy and a program that's run around the world and has helped transform education. That's probably where I go. That's quite successful. But for me, I don't see myself not working. I see myself learning and adapting. And as you and I know, I've now got a passion for AI and what it can do for, again, in the same space. It's not me doing anything different, but in terms of being able to help people push the bounds of their potential, become more aware of who they are, what makes them tick, in order for them to grow and have a phenomenal journey through life. That probably is my passion, which is a lifelong passion, I think.
Take us back to you when you were young. So you've gone into lots of different spaces, but all with that theme of kind of performance and people and is that something you were fascinated by at a young age? How did you evolve in terms of your career? Was it purposeful, or was it much more about you do something and then through that work out what you might do next?
This is a really interesting element, and I'm often asked about this. When did I decide that I was going to go into the military? And for me, it was quite young, and I'll explain why. I came across a great story, which was about Einstein a number of years ago, about being given a compass when he was poorly in bed. His dad gave him a compass, and Einstein called the compass a wonder. He was fascinated by it, and he was fascinated because every time he tried to make it point to north or in a different direction, it just could come back straight up to north. And he thought there's something pulling this. There's an unseen energy here that's driving it. And he later on obviously went on to look at quantum energy and quantum mechanics and things of that nature, which look at where, creating a reality, what you look at actually has an effect. And I think there's also things that draw us forward. There's something that if you could just tap into, what are the themes of your life? So when I was really young, I definitely wanted to be a sportsman. So that for me was about playing sport. I love team sports. And even today, if I come across a racket or anything, I'll pick it up and play it instantly. It's just a massive draw. It helps me get into flow. I feel free doing it. So the excitement of playing and being lost in that thought's always been there with me. And then I thought I'd be a professional sportsman. And I thought I'll be a PE teacher. So there's always a theme about performance and teams and being in that environment, without a doubt. And then when I was about 12, I just remember thinking, I am going to join the parachute regiment and the special out service. And I can't actually tell you where that came. I can't be specifically got that's because I saw this. Although, again, one of my heroes was Alexander the Great. And I remember reading the book, a Ladybird book, when I was literally 7 or 8. And I've actually got I keep it with me as well. And I've got one from the year I was born. And I just thought, how did this young boy, 21, and I've always been fascinated by age as well, in the sense of age is irrelevant. I believed it when I was a kid, actually. Age is irrelevant. If you're good enough, you should be able to do it at whatever age. If you're old enough, you can still do whatever is required to do any job. It's one of my real interesting idiosyncrasies. I judge people on their abilities, not on their age. It's totally irrelevant to me. And so I thought, how phenomenal. He was right at the forefront of things, a leader, and he did all these different things. So when I kind of pieced some of these things together, there was something about the line of work of being in performance, being able to test yourself, being able to do other things. And I was really clear on the timelines I will join the parachute regiment at 17 and the special air service at 22. And of course, I was laughed at. I can remember people going, well, do you honestly think that you'll get into something that's so small? And literally right the way through, up until even joining, I'd say there were lots of obstacles were put in my way to stop me from joining. But I was so clear on it, and that's what I call a super North Star, as you know. I honestly believe that's what got me through everything. Has always been there, and I always trust it. And when I've got it, I just know that I'll get me there, definitely.
And that's very much an instinct thing for you.
Yes, it is. I think it's an instinct of just trusting that my body's telling me, my mind's telling me, my intuition, the subconscious parts are just going, this is probably right for you. If you trust it. Mm-hmm. And I think if you listen to this as well, I think everybody has that.
Yeah.
And I think it's absolutely ingrained. But when you can align with it and you're able to think, is this for me? You will see that you will feel the alignment at the highest levels. You will feel that alignment. Because if you're not, I can watch people when they say, I'm going to do this. Their bodies are they're just reflecting. That's never going to happen. Your mind's not in it, or it's not going to happen now until you have alignment. So mind, body, and meaning, I think is absolutely crucial. Because then you get engaged. Because the minute I'm engaged in something, then I find a minimum ways to do it. So there's no obstacle. There's an obstacle in the sense of that's there now, but I'm not being stopped by the obstacle. I've already looked at a way of getting around it. And I think that's what you come up with when you're focused. When you're clear on I'm going to do that, no matter what obstacles are put in your way or how difficult it is, you're engaged, mind, body, and away with it.
So on that one, is there a potential danger in an approach like that? Or in terms of stopping yourself, say, changing course, for example, or seeing other opportunities if they arise? So has there been something where you've gone, I'm really focused, this is something I'm definitely going to achieve, and then on that journey gone, actually, because of some external factor or another opportunity's come in, I'm going to change course slightly and purposely choosing to do so?
Yeah, I can literally go, well, I'll just say it's a 4-year law degree.
Okay.
So I'm halfway through a law degree.
Yeah.
And instantly I knew I was actually in the jungle, and I was in the jungle studying late at night. So I'm in a mosquito net. I'm thinking about, I love law. Yeah. It's been really helpful. This is the thing I'm going to come on to, being aware of why you follow your intuition.
Yeah. So
law's been with me all my life in the sense of, obviously prior to that, but now in business and all the things I do, I'm aware of law. So it's helped me in every area. So it was never wasted. Yeah. But halfway through, I went, I don't want to be a barrister or a solicitor. It's just not for me. And it was like another epiphany. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do psychology. And it was that clear. Yeah. So, that clear. But remember, I'm also leaving the military, something I've done since I was a young man, and I could have just been leaving now. So it wasn't as if I left when I was having to leave. I would have had another 20 odd years within the military and go and stay at the top of my profession. I joined it when I was young. I'd got through and been promoted really early on a number of occasions. So I've got a long career ahead of me. But I realized that it wasn't for me now. Now, what I would do in saying coming back, because this is interesting. So my desire to do it meant that I went and did lots of different things, and it kept me focused. Had I done anything else, and when I say to anybody, you follow the dream or aspiration until you're ready that it's not for you. But it will, all the things you do on the way of that journey will help you in anything else you do. So as long as I study really hard, say I want to be an astronaut or I want to be a policeman, we still know we need maths and English to do those things. So now you've got a reason to do it. But when I then decide, I actually want to do something else, all the stuff I've learned beforehand will still help me going forward, but you've got a reason to learn. And I think the key thing about why you have meaning and why you follow something, but don't just stick with it because I've been told I should do it. I might have people I come across and go, yeah, my mum and dad, I'm super bright, so therefore I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a vet or an engineer. When that's not the job that they want to do. And I can give you some phenomenal examples of a top barrister that actually, when she qualified, went and did a phenomenal career, went back to being a hairdresser because that's what she wanted to be when she was a kid. Yeah. And actually, she was super bright, got forced down that line. Yes, she was successful. She wasn't happy but doing it. And of course, I keep coming back to, that's why following your passions are not about going, right, now I'm going to follow my passions and not earn any money. Of course, you need to earn money. But the driver is the kind of environment you might want to be in. And when people say, what about footballers? And I say, look, every single child knows when they're not going to be a professional footballer. You don't have to tell them. What you can do with them is inspire them and go, right, if you want to do that, I will help you. But there are certain things we need to research. So let's go and research. So I'm going to be engaged with you. I'm going to make sure that you're motivated. You know, I actually do believe you can do it, but you've got to do these steps. And if you're not in an academy by the time you're 12, this might be difficult. So how can we do that? How can we get to a local club? So just by trusting them and getting them involved, they then may realize, well, I might want to do strength and conditioning. I might want to be a coach. I might want to be a physiotherapist. I might want to be a psychologist. There's 1,000 different areas to go into, but go with their passion. That it might be in sport. I'm attracted to sport. Yeah. So for me, it's more to do with, I'm going to show you this is a long journey through life. There's 1,001 different jobs out there. You're likely to do 10 or 12 different jobs anyway. Don't get hooked up on a job. Get hooked up on growing education and academia. Let's follow your passion to support that.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. You've actually said something in there about, obviously you need to, and it was kind of that money mission bit, there's something that you might want to really do, or choose not to do, doing any change. But how would you advise somebody to go about finding something that they're really focused and interested in and driven by, so that they can have that level of engagement? But also, what's your advice on turning that into something that could be, that has longevity, that could be a career that is financially viable?
I think this is where you've got to follow that passion. So let's take painting as an example, or let's take any of these professions you're going to have to work exceptionally hard to get it. I would say that never lose sight of the love of painting. Never lose sight of the love of music. I mean, I work with musicians, and of course they're super talented for a period of time, and then they're having to go into clubs, and they may have been actually had a record. They may have been, really, really doing well and on everything you can possibly hear. But then all of a sudden there's another 1,000 bands that have come on because the place is tough. So never lose sight that creative, wonderful element of playing is about music and being a good musician. Now, if you come back and go, I just want to be famous, that's a different Super North Star. If you come back, I want to be a millionaire, that's a different Super North Star. They're all targets. You can only get that if you're doing something that you're good at and people are going to pay you for. So YouTubers, I love people say I want to be a YouTuber because technology is going to be the way ahead, but I keep coming back to people, you're going to need to have a bit of luck to do that unless you've got something to say. I need to know, what are you going to say on there? What are you doing to drive? What are you learning about technology, your media? So I can make all of these things come alive where you will earn money from that, because fundamentally you have to come back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Unless you've got shelter, unless you can eat, unless you've got all those things in place, none of these things will make any difference whatsoever. So you're going to have to learn that if you're following a dream aspiration, that means you need to get yourself out and about. That requires real hard work and effort. That will never change. In the meantime, you might have to do a job that you don't particularly want to do. And that's just the reality of anybody that's going through life. You're going to do something where you need money to come in, to have a house, to have all the things that you need to survive. But in the meantime, those that want to do well in that particular area, that's hard work. Money and hard work and all these other things, unfortunately, there is a framework that will never change. You have to work hard for anything that you want to get. But I'd come back to, what does it give you? The best thing on any journey is the fulfillment that you get from doing something. It will not be by all these material things. It just won't be. People may laugh when they hear me say that. I can just say, at some stage in your life, you will realize that it's about, if you're aligned internally, so mentally, physically, and you're content with yourself, life's going to be good anyway. But then the rest of it's just going to be a nice to have.
Picking up on the mental, physical, the alignment, how do you create that in yourself, or is that kind of taking that as a concept? How do you explain it, and what are the things that you do to recognize it, to make sure you're on track, to recalibrate, to what are the things that you've learned over time?
I love it, because that's exactly how I would try and teach people about it. The fundamental thing, first of all, is I'm always going to come to meaning, having something that just draws you forward, that you find that you're passionate about. The most important thing, though, to start off with, when we look at our internal self, is about understanding yourself. So you've got to understand, actually, I'm driven by this. I kind of need to know me, first of all. I need to know what drives me. So what am I motivated by? So for me, I've done tons of psychometrics and looked at all of them. I like them all because it gave me a bit of an indicator of actually I would do this. And when I was very young, I'd have said, I do all of this. It's all psychobabble. And it doesn't mean anything. I do everything in a very arrogant way. But then I went and did some psychometrics. I did NLP. I did psychology across the board. I thought, oh my goodness me, there's a science behind all this stuff. Some things I probably intuitively knew, but I thought, no, there's a science behind this. And of course, I did a Myers-Briggs, which actually is not always rated as a psychometric, which is ridiculous because it works every time I've ever done it. And I've done it with tens of thousands of people. And it's about energy. It's about how you make decisions, how you take information in, how you organize your life. And when I went through this program, one of the key ones for me was on intuition, which is about seeing patterns in information and sensing, which is detail, as you well know. And I was on one side of the room and a lot of people on the other side. And it was about a picture that came up on the wall. And it was a strange abstract picture. And it was a man with a hat, with puppets attached to his fingers, animals in the background, bells, words around the outside. And I was asked to describe this picture. And I went, oh, it's sinister, it's evil, it's Machiavellian, it's about control, probably a godlike creature. I think it could be escaped through his chest. And the entire line opposite literally looked at me as though I could see that, I could feel them looking at me actually, and then looking at the picture. And they were just shaking their heads, and I described it, and then they described it, and they just did the facts: man, bell, rings on his fingers, and they named all the animals. And there's a rat in his sleeve, and it's the B instead of the B, and the words say this. And I smiled and I went, oh my God, they don't even see what they do not see what I've just seen. And they all just said that I have no idea what you're talking about. And I just realized, just imagine that's one picture in communication then, how you could miss it. So for me, that was an epiphany. And then I started to do some deeper stuff on what do I like? Well, I like to achieve things. I like things to be completed. I have massive intrinsic motivation. So if it motivates me, I'll definitely finish it. I have, I can take risks. I'm not necessarily risk seeking, but it's at the top, it's at the higher end. I like affiliation. I like to have the ability to influence people. So all of those things now give me a deeper understanding of me. So the more I'm aware of that, the better I can understand what annoys me, the things that irritate me. And now they don't irritate me because I understand what's happening, and I can smile and go, that's just different. They may not use words I like, but I know they don't mean it in that way. So straight away, I'm now in a much more balanced perspective. I'm also in a place now where I'm starting to understand how my mind and body connect. Fundamentally, physiologically, I need to have fitness. So I need a good diet. I need to train. I need sleep. I need to make sure that I'm having mindfulness and I can take time out. I do things to challenge my mind as well, coming onto the balance between the two. But physically, there's lots of things that I can do to make sure my body's working effectively. Because if my body doesn't work, it affects my mind. So let's be really clear. You can't separate them. But if I'm healthy, all those things are in a good space. I'm hydrated, I'm in a good, then my body's now starting to work effectively. It's connected to my mind. Now, my mind, when you start to realize the different parts of your mind, from the cognitive part to the subconscious, to the reptilian part of your brain, now I'm aware when it comes alive. Now I'm aware of the thoughts that I have in my head are not necessarily what I believe. I'm behind my thoughts. And this is how it affects my emotions and my hormones. And now all of a sudden, I'm in control of them. So I can think, yeah, actually, if I'm upset, my heart rate's going to go up. I'm going to think in a way like this. But now I can change that around because I can think positively. How I think affects my state, affects my performance. I can remember all the things I've done well. I can visualize what success looks like. I can see what I want the future to look like, so I can start to create that. But more importantly, I can now remove some fears. Fear of failure, I'm really pleased, has gone. I don't even think about that at all. I think about, I'm going to learn from it. I also can go, I do get scared. Why would I not say I get scared? So now I'm being able to accept all of these things, which means there's no negativity now in my body. I'm not actually thinking in that way. I'm thinking about, what am I trying to do to be successful in this particular situation? What are the facts? What's a positive way of looking at it? What's a creative way? What's the danger in it? So I'm thinking in a way that just allows me to have clarity between my mind and my body. I'm not worried about making mistakes. I don't care what people say. I'm not driven by other people's approbation at all. It's nice to have people say nice things, but I don't need that.
Yeah.
And therefore, if I've got meaning, what it means now I'm aligned. And I know then that what you will feel is you'll just feel alignment. And it's a wonderful feeling, especially when you then start to realize that, again, with breathing techniques, and you'll hear the term breath work all the time, which is just a fancy way of just breathing really effectively. It allows me to think clearly. And this is where you get into flow. So when I'm in flow, and people will say you get in flow when the challenge is at the right level, you've got the right skill sets, but it's just beyond you. I think you can create that by making sure mentally and physically you get yourself in the right state, you get your breathing in the right line, and you realize what you want to do. You're activating all the right things within the body. And that to me is just, again, that awareness of who you are means your inner compass is aligned. Doesn't matter what's going on out here, because you can find your way around it. So you'll see the obstacles, but you'll already be navigating around them because you're not seeing the way that they're going to stop you. You're just seeing them as part of the journey to get to where you're going. And that's where I think you get into really high levels of performance.
So for somebody who hasn't experienced or doesn't feel like they've managed to reach that space, or who are really influenced by what other people say or their perception, because that can create noise in questioning, can't it? What would be your advice or recommendations or simple things that they can practice or have a go at, or daily non-negotiables to just start to build up the practice of creating that?
Really important. So the key thing, first of all, and what I'd say to anybody is, we're going to just come back to, it doesn't have to be a massive super North Star. So, but what we need to have something that we're willing to fight for. The key thing on this one is just clarifying actually what are the things that really do matter to me. And the first one I would look at is, I would always look at, again, what is it you want to do? And it can be as big as changing the world to as small as playing the piano. I just want you to think about what you want to do going forward. It could be just, for some people, I just need to get out of this house to the end of the gate, to the shop down the road. We set ourselves a visualization of what we want to do, because what I want to do is travel around the world, but I'm a bit scared of leaving home. Then we come back and we start to take small steps. The strategy is facts, figures, detail, and that's what I want to do. I want to be a hyper-confident, to be successful in this particular area. Again, whatever that super North Star is, then let's start to think about the steps. So let's just look a week to 2 weeks ahead, things that we know we can do, small steps. So the strategy is in place. Who can help you? Because the thing about strategy and people, social resilience is one of the biggest resiliences. Having people around that you can support you in this, it's really important. So they provide a high support, high challenge environment. That's not all high support, because that doesn't work. It's not all high challenge. So they can be encouraging you to start to think, right, this is what we need to do to get there. You've got to think about the values that are important to you. So let's just pick a couple. If I pick some of mine, it would be fairness would be one of mine. I don't like bullies. I always want people to be able to achieve what they want. So fairness is quite a big value. And being courageous is quite a big value, and respectful. Let's just take that. So straight away, courageous is always a good value, I think, because with courage is everything's protected. But then it's about thinking, well, I need to be courageous on this journey. So these are some of the things. I'm a bit worried about what people think. Well, we need to be courageous about getting through the first steps, where we can go, yeah, I think that what they think is important, but what I'm going to do is get them to be supportive of me. So I can have some strategies. I'm going to get them to understand why it's important to me. And if they can help me, that's great. What I would say, and I'll come on to magnets in a minute, but the most important thing is I'm going to try and use my network. But I'm also going to be courageous. If they are going to say horrible things, I'm still going to do the first step. I'm still going to do the second step. And then we've got to have our resilience strategies. So again, I'm going to have physical resilience. I'm going to make sure I'm in a good place so that I'm not tired, I'm not dehydrated, I'm not emotional, I'm not too sleepy. I've got everything in place that I'm looking after my body so I can make appropriate decisions. Mentally, I'm going to stack this really. I'm going to have breathing techniques. So I breathe deeply, because that will calm me down straight away. I will always have a positive voice. So never ever diss yourself. That's always about the list of words, the power words. So for me, it's courage, resilience, determination. It will always be opportunity to see how good I can be. I've got a power phrase. Now is not the time to be afraid. Positive things about all the things you've done before. So positive anchors, classic NLP. Visualization, always visualize yourself being at the end of the journey, why you want to be there, how you will feel, the people that will be there, the thoughts, the emotions, the smells. Just really create that as being, that's what I'm moving towards. This is the first step along that journey. And then I think you start to get yourself into a great space. always remember there's a magnet out there that can take you off track. But with the magnets, just first of all, you'll always be the biggest magnet because you've got to fight for these things. You've got to have the energy and the focus, and it's not coming to you. You've got to step into the pressure zone. That's just the price you have to pay for anything you want in life. That's why resilience is really important. But it's about your strength of character, really important. Second biggest magnets are people you surround yourself with. If you do surround yourself with these people that are horrible, saying horrible things and trying to distract you, they're the wrong people. And hopefully you'll learn it really early on. If you can't convince them to support you, then I would leave that environment. That's the best advice I can give to you on those elements. And that allows you to at least start to take these small steps. The more successful, the more dopamine hits, endorphins come into play, and then all of a sudden you'll start to move forward and be in a better space. It is about the best way to predict the future is to create it. You have to create your future. Do not wait for anybody else to do it. By all means, get support and things around it. But this is where sometimes you've got to sit and think, do I really want this? Because you'll always have to fight for it. It will never be given to you.
For people who are thinking they want to do something and they're in terms of their support network, they might not have many people yet who they've shared it with or who are encouraging them. Where do they go to create that network or that support system, or kind of I refer to it as like your personal board of advisors? What kind of roles or...
There's two ways of doing it, and two ways of doing your personal advisors. One is you can have an imaginary board. You can have one. You can have a group in your head who are all the people that you admire. Now they could be alive or dead. It does not matter. But for example, you could have, if I was thinking, who would I have on my board? I would have Alexander the Great. I would have Nelson Mandela. I would have Elizabeth I. So there's a number of people because they're all different, but I admire them all for different reasons. And then I just go, right, on this situation here, if I presented that to somebody like Alexander the Great, what kind of thoughts would they have? What would they do? And I can go, I can think this is what he would probably do. What would Mandela do? He'd probably be about negotiation. He'd be about influence. What would Elizabeth do? So straight away I can go, oh, they'd probably do that. Okay, let's give me some thought. So I can have straight away an imaginary group, and I could pick any number of people. There are other people, but I don't want to be controversial. So the key thing is you can pick loads of things, can't you? But then I can also go, right, I need people in this area. Why would I not go and call somebody and find out who's done this before? Call people, write to them. And then why would I not go to groups that are doing something similar in the local area? You'll always find people. And the good thing about this is I've rarely come across people that don't want to help you. It could happen, but I can also say anybody that comes to me, I spend my time going to help people and give them direction. Also, when you put it out there and say, I am going to do this, which is very powerful, because now you start to commit to it. Once you start to say it, it becomes a commitment, a contract. You'd be amazed at how many people say, oh, I'm glad you've told me that. Do you know, I know somebody. But nobody can tell you if you don't tell them, nobody can help them.
Yeah.
Because they don't know. And I say to people in the rooms when I'm with them, and then we start to go down this line and say, I'm thinking about doing this. It's rare I haven't got somebody I can't connect with them and say, oh, you need to check on LinkedIn. This person's really good. Send them a message, say you know me, and ask for some advice.
Yeah.
And then you'll get top quality advice. As I said, be amazed at how many people come back to you.
Yeah. There's a few people I know actually who, on the extremes, don't vocalise what they're doing because of fear of failure. And then also someone I was speaking to just last week actually who was saying, I tell everybody everything, but I need this to work because I keep telling them everything I'm doing, but I actually need this to follow through this time. But your point is exactly that. If you don't, it's obviously choosing things that you're passionate about. But if you don't share it, how can you find out resources that are out there or people?
Exactly. Plus, you hold yourself accountable. So that the lady there is exactly that. You're going right. So actually, yes, you're correct, because otherwise you'll just be crying wolf and be like, fine, crack on. And that's where. So there's that other element. It just gives you a tag. But that's when you have somebody come and go, I thought you were, because at the minute, when you tell me you're writing a book, or somebody said, I've got tons of book going, what are you doing? I'd always come back and go, because now I'm there to say, no, exactly, but it's that kind of thing, oh God, yeah, I'm on chapter, whatever it may be.
Yes, yeah.
But of course, I'm going to ask.
Yeah.
And so there's that wonderful commitment. That's what we need. It's the tag, it's that classic left part of our brain when we go, once I get numbers, it's the same for me on steps or something like that. If I drop below a certain figure of what I've said I'm going to do over the year, goodness me, I'm on it for a week of doing way over and above what I need to, because that's a commitment I've made.
Yeah.
Commitment's really important.
So on the steps, not necessarily just the steps, but what does a good day look like for you or feel like? What are the things that, whether it's work, whether it's physical, whether it's nutrition, what are your best days if you could design them and have them more?
Great question. It's interesting. What I would say is I sometimes talk about having a resilience shield. A friend of mine designed it, and he talks about 4 key areas: obviously mental, physical, social, and emotional.
Yeah.
When you get them all aligned, then you get the spiritual one. I don't mean from a religious perspective, I mean from a connecting perspective.
Yeah.
So mentally, for me, it's about things that challenge my mind. So when I'm studying, I'm going out, like today, I met some people who are skilled in loads of areas. I've got a great friend of mine who's world-class in AI, yet he's also in the music industry and other areas. So that engagement and intellectual debate I find massively stimulating during the day, especially when I'm with psychologist Sir Malcolm, who you met today, top psychologist. We spend hours on the phone talking and discussing things right across every area of performance, because it allows me to develop my thoughts. So that stimulation is important. Alongside it, I like to play chess and those kind of things, which are important. Plus, I like to write. So thinking and doing something that is cerebral for me is really important. Which I try to do. I'm trying to have things that I'm going to do on a regular basis, certainly during the year, but every 6 months I've got things that I want to kind of hit there. Physically is an easy one for me, as I do something every day. I won't not do it, whether it's just walking or stretching. But of course, I like the bike. I like to do racket sports. I still like to box. All of those things are important physically, along with hydration and sleep, and making sure I've got those things absolutely refined. Diet, I've always been good on diet. So diet's just making sure that when you're having too much processed or ultra processed food. Socially, again, start being with people and making sure you get out with friends and you get out with family. You do something that allows you to recharge, because you're getting that energy from that wonderful connection. Social resilience, without doubt, is really high. But you can also plan it, that you're going to have dinner with 5 of my best friends. I'm going to do this. So I can structure some of these things to make sure that's in place. And then emotionally, that is about, I like to paint. I like to draw. Again, I like to write children's books of those elements, and writing about adventure and things like that allow me to get into a space which is really about being creative and following those things. So I think when I'm doing any of those things during the day, they really help. They allow me to get balanced. But I do have a structure. So in the morning, I will definitely wake up and do some breathing, some breath work, to make sure that my thoughts are in the right place. I will think about the day and the things that are important. I will definitely be visualizing what am I looking to do in the future, because I find that is really focusing. I'll have a quick look at in my mind about some of the things I'm doing in the day, quick dip into values, and then do I need to have a lot of resilience? And the reason I say that is because, let's say over the last 2 weeks, I've done some big negotiations at a really high level. I've had to be on point, and you do need resilience in those areas. So I'm just refining them so that when I go in, I'm prepared.
Yeah.
And what I find by just doing those simple techniques, and that we're talking 5-10 minutes at most, along with stretching as well, to make sure my body's in a good space to start the day, I'm usually fine. And then, of course, my days are so varied. It's very hard to say one day is going to be the same.
Yeah.
But of course, when I work with kids, or when I work with sports teams or in the military, that's when I become alive, because I can really kind of push the bounds, and I can see that the kids benefit from somebody listening to them, that's engaged with them, and you're opening up opportunities of what they could dream to be. And I've never seen a child without a dream, ever. And they're always big. It's just, you've got to ask it and listen and catch the hooks, and then you can help get them to realize it's going to work for them.
How do you, from a kind of work-life perspective, do you separate them? Do you see them as one? Do you section them out into different energy zones? Or what's your, you were saying about chess and painting, but then high negotiation and sport, and there's so many different things. It's almost like, how do you manage it all? How do you, and ensure that you can do all of those things that you love?
I don't separate them. I
Okay.
look at them being part of me. So I look at that, and I don't have I look at time slightly differently. So because I've not really ever had a 9 to 5, even when I was in the military. I don't think it's ever 9 to 5. And I don't look at time in that way. I don't think, oh, this is the weekend, or this is what I should be doing. You've got to be careful there sometimes, because obviously sometimes you can be too ingrained in focusing on your passions and the things that are important to you. That's you've got to be careful of that, without a doubt. But I think you've got to balancing it up with family and with friends and with doing things that you want to do is very, very important. But I see them all. I do see them as one, and I personally wouldn't separate them. I think it's a master in the art. I'm just trying to think of the guy that the quote, but a master in the art of living does not draw a distinction between work or play. To himself or herself, they're doing the same. There's just, they're interlocked. And again, people looking from the outside do not know whether they're at work or at play. And I think that's how I look at life. Why would I want to separate them if I can balance it up and change things around? If you've got that flexibility, and again, I realise not everybody does have that flexibility, but for me, it's essential for them to be intertwined.
Does that then mean it's important to? You said, when you mentioned about if people aren't supporting you, one of the options is to move to another circle or find people that will. Is that a similar thing then with that approach to kind of work and play, in that is it hardest to connect with somebody that is in a more traditional boundary setting in terms of cooking with them, when you would be more flexible and they not necessarily would want the same thing? I'm thinking about different generations now coming into the world of work, where actually people's perceptions or rhetoric or way of doing things is going to be really varied, and expectations coming through is really varied. So how do you have an organisation that functions?
Yeah, and again, it's a really great question. Because obviously, if somebody easily think that means I'm working 24/7, I expect everybody else to work 24/7 or something like that, which is just not true. I look at it from a perspective of, when you're looking at those types, as long as you're getting things done and you're clear on, look, just because I work like this, I'm not expecting everybody else to work like that. And also, it's interesting when you're with other people. But what I would say is that you still have to come back to some fundamental principles. If you want this word success and you want to finish something, then there is a price to pay for that. So let's be clear on it. If you want to be number one in the world, then you're going to have to work pretty hard to get there. If you want to be 5, that's fine as well. And to be honest, I always say to people, I'm not what you decide as success is fine, but these are the principles that you will need to work to, and this is where you can actually do all of those different things. It just depends on where you set your parameters about what you want to do. So if you want to be, and Anne Daniels is a great example of this, she's a polar explorer, but for 3 months of the year, she's going on a polar expedition. She's a polar explorer. Yeah. She's not a mum. She's got 4 kids. She's not a mum in that sense. She's still obviously a mum, but she's going to do that for 4 months. She's away. So she might be on the phone, but she's not going to be able to do that. And that's what she's willing to do. Conversely, when she comes back, she's 8 months at home. Yeah. So you've got a balance between those two different elements. And I think it's finding the balance, which is important for any individual in their life. And of course, when somebody is very 9 to 5, or they think it's just the weekend is now off, yes, that would definitely be difficult, because I wouldn't operate like that. I would sometimes be doing something that I think, well, I need to do it on that day. Again, if you've got a big business and you're working around the world, when the weekends and things change and they're different, time frames change, then you have to adapt to that. I think that's just about, again, somebody working out who they are and where they want to be in life. That's probably what I'd come back to. Looking, there's no rights or wrongs to this in any way, shape or form. But then you just have to look at where you're compatible or where you're not as compatible.
There's a couple of things I want to pick up on. One of them is rest.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously the rest is vital for brain health and regeneration and things. How do you rest? What does that look and feel like?
I'm really fortunate. I have the ability to go to sleep at any time. No, literally, I can. If I decided that I needed a couple of hours now, I could literally throw my bag down on the floor. I could put my head on it and I'd be asleep. Always been able to do it. It's just one of those. wonderful things that I can do, I will always get a minimum of 7 hours sleep. But I've got techniques for doing it as well. So again, I've got breathing techniques that help me go to sleep.
If you don't mind.
No, not at all. So if I'm going to sleep, what I do is I've got a technique where I'll breathe in for 5 seconds, hold for 7 and breathe out for 8. And I'll just, by the time I get to 5 of those, that I'll be asleep. But I use some different techniques sometimes as well within that. So there's some really good ones on where you try and get coherence between your head and your heart. That's about breathing in for 5 seconds, having a picture of someone that you love or admire or something to really give you a great feeling, and breathe out for 5 seconds. Do that 3 times, and that's where you'll start to align your brain and your heart. And then there's a number of the ones that I could use, but those are probably the ones that I use most often, because what it does, it calms you down straight away. And just by concentrating on your breath, you'll find yourself calm down, and then you just declutter as well. I think that helps enormously, and being able to not just jump on every thought, and also be able to be behind your thoughts. 60,000 thoughts a day, most of which are the same as yesterday, most of which are just not real anyway. Why would you jump on all these thoughts and think, oh, that's what that means, or this is, because it's just not correct. You come behind your thoughts and go, I just wonder why I'm thinking like that.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you go, that's probably not quite true. That person probably didn't quite do that in that way. I'm just overreacting. All of a sudden you just start to climb the mountain down. I think that's really, really important to get to sleep.
Okay. That's a big thing there for lots of people particularly when they're in a more stressed or pressured. I quite often hear that I couldn't sleep because I had all these thoughts going through my mind. So
it's about the skill set, and then you've got to realise, well, you've got to come into the bedroom then is to sleep, so it's dark, or you wear the eye masks that you can get now, which are very, very good, that it's not so hot, that you've done some exercise. All these things will assist you. But then getting a technique where the one I've just gone through for breathing or something like that, and practice it, or just practice just really good deep breathing, just slowly, and then concentrate on your breath going in. It will calm you down and you will go to sleep. It's just like any skill. Just get into the skill set of it.
The other thing I just wanted to ask you about was resilience. So if I just say the word resilience, what does that mean?
What it means to me, so straight away, I naturally go to the 4 key areas. I'll just spend straight away: mental, physical, social, emotional. And then what I look at, I go, I've got all of those things, so I can replay, but I'm already prepping my mind. So what I do straight away is I realize that when there's a threat, I know what my body's going to do. So I'm very self-aware that, my heart rate will go up, because it will do. Once you're in those situations, your heart rate's going to go up. My amygdala will come alive. There's the threat, so I'm prepared. My body's already preparing because my heart rate's gone up, but my activation's probably been there before that. So it's just realizing this is difficult. That situation could be loads of obstacles, or it's not going well, or there's lots, I'm overwhelmed with bandwidth of things. Yeah. And then I start to come straight back into, right, that's just positive self-talk, which will always be, oh, it's opportunity. So the first word that will come into my head, this is an opportunity now, and you practice this 1,000 times. We know what to do here. So I then go into a really logical way of thinking, which is facts, figures, detail. Yeah. So I start to, so resilience to me just means when anything happens, I go, do not overreact to this situation. Yeah. Facts, figures, detail first. What's a positive way of looking at this situation? Creative way. What are the dangers and risks to it? And then how do I feel? Because I keep emotion last. Mm-hmm. By the time I've got to it, I'm not in an emotional state. I'm in a solution mode state. Yeah. And then I can go, so what's the decision now? And again, I'll always smile and go, I've been through this 1,000 times, which means prioritize. Mm-hmm. What's the first thing that's coming towards the boat? What's the second thing? What can I do? What can I park? And then I'll just do the first thing. I won't bother about the second thing. I'm just going, what's the first thing to do? Yeah. And of course, by again being aligned mentally and physically, in the sense as my body will just go, I will just get into my mind about calming it down, making sure my heart rate's good, and then just go, right. And what I do now is, this is where I will trust myself to not overthink. I think flow is when you're not thinking, you're trusting things, and all those things then are aligning, and every part of your brain, all the networks in your brain come alive. Yeah. If you do it well, because that's what you want to get to flow. Yeah. So by getting myself into that state, what it generally does for me, it allows me to not overthink, not go into my emotions. It allows me a stillness to let everything in my mind come together, all the networks work, and then I'm just trusting the thoughts I'm getting and not overthinking. That's what it means to me, and being able to do it on anything that occurs.
And then just practice.
Honestly, just practice. So the more you practice, the more you use the resilience strategies of having things you can layer, so you can go, right, positive self-talk. Because again, how we coach ourselves is really important. So, your book's going to be on some great coaching, but the best coach has got to be you. You've got to coach yourself. The only way you can do that is practicing it. Your brain is a supercomputer. Give it bits of information, it'll give you little bits of answers. Ask it big, massive questions, you'll get the best answers over time. But you've got to coach yourself. You've got to be that wonderful coach. And far too often I hear people calling themselves stupid and silly and even worse words. I go, would you speak to your best friend like that if they were struggling? Would you actually talk to your children like that? And why on earth would you talk to yourself like that? The minute you do it, it's destructive. Because all you're doing is, again, your body's going to react to, okay, do you want me to feel like that? Do you want to feel sad? Well, okay, I'll make you feel even sadder. Let's think about all the other things that have made you sad as well. In fact, let's go back 5 years and think about that time, which is similar to this time. And now you're in a world of hurt, aren't you? Because now you're in a spiral. You're thinking that way. Okay, let's have all these horrible thoughts we've said about ourselves all the time. And then let's pretend everybody hates us. And then you just go, how on earth do you think you're going to perform in that environment? And why? And more importantly, nobody created that but you. So why would you do that? Why would you just now join the opposition and go, no, never, ever, ever do anything other than really, really admire yourself and love yourself. I'd say that's probably what I'd say is the most important thing. Don't ever get away from that.
Something on emotions that I was asked in a webinar a couple of weeks ago. Emotional intelligence, that was the topic of the webinar. And we're talking about how you can be more aware of your emotions and then better manage them and have more control over them. And the question I had was, in summary, is there a point there where we're now just not authentic anymore because we're not emotional because everything's overanalyzed and we're aware of it and we're managing it and we're controlling it? And so I'm just intrigued as to what your thoughts are.
What I'd say is, this doesn't mean you don't get cross. It doesn't mean you're not angry. It doesn't mean that I look at that and go, why on earth? But why would you? What I would say, emotional intelligence is the fundamental thing is, I can look at that person and go, they're in a lot of stress. They're in a difficult position. Now, what I can do is I can amplify that by me now being and reacting inappropriately or taking all their negative energy and going down and escalating it. Or I'd come back and go, the most important thing is your ability to have self-control, actually, to look at it and go, why would you want to stress your body out like that? I just don't understand. That's what emotional intelligence is with you, first of all. Forget the other person. First of all, it's your ability to go, oh, I'm not joining in with that. Because it's just not, why would I wouldn't think like that? And I can smile. There's loads of people I know who I could listen to in a second and they're going to now, the whole world's burning. Everybody's bad. I mean, literally, I've never seen so much disaster. And then I go, well, why would you join into that? And I can just go, I don't agree with any of that. I can listen to them, but I'm not going to join in with that emotion and bring it into me because it's not going to do me any good. And I just come back to it. The reason you don't do that is because it doesn't help you. None of that will help you. But it doesn't mean to say I don't go, well, I'm really cross with that. Just because I'm not now running up and criticize everything, because ultimately, if I can do something about it, I will do it there and then. I'll go, I think that's actually just inappropriate behavior. I think that's rude. But I'm not gonna, I don't have to then go and be forceful with it. Now, I will if I need to. So this is not again about me in any way. If I wanted to tell somebody, or I felt there was a need for me now to stand up and go, I think that's enough, then they'd know that I was cross. But again, I just keep coming back to, don't upset your system just because you think, well, I'm now, I just want to join in and show you I'm as mad as you and as angry and you have a fact. I just don't think that works.
If we look at it on the positive emotions, so you mentioned about when you have important negotiations, or in the morning you might say, I might need more resilience today. How do you, or what if you do, create more opportunities for positive emotions, or to create states that will enhance your performance?
All the day, every day. I will run through positive states all day long. I will be going through that time and time again. Again, I can play back from being 8 years of age to now all the things that I've done well, because I can smile straight away and see why I was pleased, I'll have that again, that power phrase, which makes me smile straight away. I'll smile. And again, you can't be cross. If you start smiling, you are not all negativity or being, you'll just lose that straight away, because the way your body's configured, your physiology will affect your state as well. So standing back, standing tall, all of those things will put you in a great place. Again, tons of breathing techniques, because they're just such a game changer. Hydration physically. So all that prep is really important, but also then prepping for the people I'm going to meet. Running through scenarios, getting everything in place. I've already been here, so where do I become resilient? Because I've already done this. I've already seen this could go horribly wrong. They could ask this could be difficult. What does that look like? And so by going through it, you're in a good space, and then getting people to talk to social resilience. If they do this, what do you think? If I say this, what do you think? And then I've got some techniques for negotiating, which are like a negotiated stairway, which I can replay at any time. Am I in this place? Am I not in that place? What do I need to get to it? And then if there's a no-go, then I go, well, this is not the time to ask that question. This is not the time. But I practiced all of that beforehand. So where does resilience come from? Practice, 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 and putting yourself in those difficult situations as well.
You mentioned social resilience, and I know you mentioned it before about the importance of going out and connecting, and for you getting energy from that. Thinking about profiling and the kind of the extremes of the kind of extrovert or introvert energy systems, I can absolutely hear a more dominant introvert on the scale going, socialization for energy. So yeah, I'm just intrigued. I'm intrigued. I guess that's your go-to, is it, for energy, the socialization side? But what if somebody struggles more in social settings? Not, I don't mean from an introvert perspective, but or doesn't want as much socialization. How much is enough? Because I know it's important.
It really is. Now, remember when I talk about social resilience, think about extroverts. We get energy in from small acquaintances. So it just might be shallow conversations. Social resilience on a deeper scale is about much more deeper conversation. So that is with family. That is with friends that are close to you that mean something. So when I say social resilience, I mean that they're your support group. They're there for you. They're not just there for energy. But even with introverts, even in that particular element, the same principles apply. Is they'll have potentially a smaller group of people that are very close to them.
Yes.
And they may be within those groups. When they go for dinner, they may all be in bed by 10. But that doesn't mean to say they haven't had the energy pill from being around those individuals. A couple of really good friends who are massive introverts, who I could guarantee, if I said to them come for dinner, they would come for dinner and they would be gone at the earliest opportunity.
Yeah.
And whereas extroverts would be there until 2 or 3 in the morning. So you've got that balance straight away.
Yeah.
But their needs have been met within that setting, that they've got people there that they can go to if they need it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. AI. Talk to me about AI and what you have created.
So the AIs are very, very exciting, massively exciting. And that's about human development, again, getting people to realize how capable they are, but also how we can accelerate that. So the AI project I'm working on at the moment, called Enlighten, is about where I can take a 5-minute video of you, or indeed you can just talk into it for a few days and give it a good overview of you and who you are by just talking in a way about your normal day. You don't have to do anything specific, just talk about everyday occurrences. And then what it will do is it will map out your personality using a thing called the Big Five, which is about openness, about conscientiousness, it's about agreeableness, it's about your ability for being neurotic, and extroversion. So you've got all of those things in play. And then what it allows me to do is see where you are in terms of some key motivations. So affiliation, it will look at power, that means influence as well. It will look at your stress analysis, you're a risk taker, but I also can look at your cognitive load, and we've also got it where it looks at the networks in your mind, whether you are driven, committed, tough, skilled, all those different elements that affect your decision making. And then what I can do with that is also look at your cognitive load over a period of time. Were you in optimal performance? Were you in fatigue? Were you in breakdown? Were you in being stressed, alert, challenged? Where are all those things? Where do you sit? And then what I can add on to it is real context about who you are. So then the AI program will start to coach you based on this profile. And this is what we think about Sarah. This is where the best environments. This is how you coach her. These are the things you could do in different ways. So those are pretty powerful, especially when you want compass stuff, which is about your super North Star, strategy for getting there, ethos, and your values and the resilience strategies you've got, because that will then question you on why those things are important. That then adds that up together. And of course, then I can look at all the physical aspects of you. So I can attach to all your data on your Apple Watch, and then you can ask it some really good questions. And more importantly, it will give you a great insight into how it can help you on your journey through life. Phenomenal.
So what might some of those insights look or sound like? What kind of things does it give, or could it give direction or in?
Well, what it can do to give you direction is if you say that, look, I'm looking to do this particular job, what it'll be able to do as well is go, look, your talents lie perfectly in that area with your view of this, your agreeableness, the ability to be extroverted, that when they comes together, this is what it's going to support you. You're very committed, and this environment's perfect for you. Definitely take a look at that. And more importantly, have you thought about this? And it can then question on what's your strategy, and break that down right the way down to a business plan. Have you thought about this? These are the groups you can connect. And so you start to structure that actually based on your values. This also fits it, because did you know these values are aligned with it? Or indeed, it's interesting that you've chosen that profession because some of your skill sets means you may have to enhance this area. You're going into an area where it's high risk seeking, but you have low risk. So your job, you need to be aware that that may be a constant. It's not that to stop you, it's to make you aware of it. So from your perspective, it can also look at, again, training programs and development programs and things. But if I'm your coach, what it does, it gives me a massive insight to ask you the right questions. Actually, you're in an environment which is, these are the opposite people to you. These values don't align with your values. How are you finding that? Well, actually, I'm okay, I'm adapting. Great, that's fine. But the question is, do you, they don't have the same values as me, but I've been able to get around it because of these reasons. Or now you've said that, that's why I know I don't get on. That's why I don't want to be here.
And things like stress and burnout are, well, they're on the rise in terms of the data, but what that might be awareness of, it might have already been there, but people are openly talking about it more. Is it something that could help track the earlier stages of, so people become more aware of that much earlier?
I'll give you an example. I was with a friend of mine who I put on the programme, very sceptical of things like this, which is why I picked him. And really a great businessman as well, so he asked all the right questions. Yeah, that's why I picked him. And then a number of days I could see that it was slightly out of sync. There was something not quite right. And I called him actually because it wasn't to do with the product. I just thought, this is strange. And I couldn't tell from the words it was using or anything. There was nothing unusual about what he was saying. I called him and just realised there was a number of traumatic things going on in his life over that. And it was a very particularly difficult few days. I thought it was really interesting how it managed to spot those things. It picked it up really quickly. Enough for me to go, I need to speak to you. Because, for instance, if I'm in fatigue or it goes up to the higher levels of, say, breakdown, then I can look at it and go, yeah, it probably is there because I'm working on 15 different things and there's loads of pressure. But I'm probably still going to be okay for a while. But what it does for me straight away is go, yes, but you need to be aware of it. So again, it's that classic moment in time that even I could just dismiss it and go, I'm just a bit tired. I'm just this and that. Yeah, it's normal. But by seeing it and realizing that if I'm checking on this and it goes up suddenly, I go, I wonder why that is. And of course, even strong people need to have those checks and balances to be able to go, no, actually, that's because of this. And isn't it strange that happens all the time? And it's because of this reason. So we had a really good one where we were working with a woman in America who's part of being with SEAL teams and things like that, and, very robust, and says, yeah, I know about me. But on one particular day, she was out of sync for about 4 days. And the reason for it was something, as she went through, she went, it's always this day. And it was because she needs childcare. And her sister sometimes helps, but sometimes lets her down at the last minute, which stresses her out for 4 days thereafter because of all the stuff that she's got to do. And it was just simple. You just need to change that situation where you've got a professional childminder probably, because you can see the stress that it affects you. So those indicators allow you then to start to drill down and ask the right question. Yeah, I'm really resilient, but why is that out of sync every day? Probably because of that reason. So at least it helps with the discussions.
Yeah, and anything like that is always going to be a performance enhancer, isn't it? In that data and information gives you knowledge and enables you to act on it. in a better way. So, that can only be a positive, can't it?
I totally agree. And also, remember, it's doing all the heavy lifting. You wouldn't get to this in the time frame. This is super quick. This is 5 minutes. It will come up and give you tons of assessments really quickly. And if you follow that through, the information that you're going to get to assist somebody is absolutely, it's gold. For that reason, is we can just discuss it and make sure you've now got a plan for where you're going, or you could have your own individual plan. It's a great tool, really, really good.
Does it work on a team level or an organisational? So you can look at all those strengths and how they work together or any blind spots.
Absolutely, and ask it the questions as well. So you can ask the navigator and go, right, tell me about this team. What's great about it? And go bum 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 bum. What do I need to be aware of? You need to be aware of these elements on how they interact together, because they may not work as well as you think. So it just allows you to, again, it gives you a guide.
Yeah,
might not be the case, but it's a good indicator based on their personalities and their drivers. I would be aware of this.
Yeah. So what's next for you?
So what's next is, I would say, the AI systems and getting that out globally is one of my biggest ones, because it's about education for me. So whilst the spin-offs of this are in sport, they're in business, they're in every area. There's not one area it doesn't touch. NHS, you imagine having your own personal coach and something to help you when you come out of hospital to get fit and healthy. There's so many areas, but education is the key. I think AI and the ability to use it well for positive use is the most important thing. Getting kids to understand this, utilize something like this, just accelerates performance going forward, which I think is really important. So that will be something that I'll be working heavily on, and going into other areas of AI as well, mainly using it for a positive way of using it for good, making sure that you realize that AI is like any instrument. You can use it in a great way. And then businesses I've got here, which have been going great, I think we'll get to a point where in 3 to 5 years, they will have really be at the top of their game. And then we'll see what happens there on, where it eventually goes. But I can see this being potentially a multinational business at a really high level, which I think would be great. And of course, Enlighten is just part of Compass for Life, really. It's just part of all the things I do with kids. So the development of the online academy and also the international academy will be in full flow. That will be what I see as being, you're in the right space. So.
Just to finish on the last couple of bits, if you could go back and give 3 pieces of advice to your younger self, what would they be?
They would be, without doubt, understand yourself a bit quicker. So understand who you are a bit quicker and all the strengths that you already have. Understand your personality, understand that, because that's the game changer. That's what's going to give you a massive edge. Realizing that you don't have to be perfect. And when you realize that you do get scared, learn it now, because there's nothing wrong with being scared. It's always, once you've got that out, you can always do something different. I think that was probably the great learning curve when I go, I do get scared. And go, smile straight away. Yeah, why would I not get scared? And it takes up a lot of penalties. And never ever compare yourself to anybody else, because you don't need to. You just need to be incrementally better. If you do that, the world will change instantly for you.
Last one, any advice that you'd give to people who are starting through their career on how they can build it in a way that is successful for them?
I'm always going to come back to, remember, it's holistic. You can't just say, I'm going to do one thing or not the other. So always start with the super North Star that draws you, but don't get hung up by it. It's just drawing you forward to learn, to trial things, but start with it really crystal clear and focused, so that you can bring people with you. So when you articulate it, people can see it, they can see why they're doing it, why they're helping you, because you won't get there by yourself. That helps you articulate something pretty powerful. You've got to start to plan. You've got to make sure you've got steps in the journey, that they are successful with the first few, to give you the right journey, the right endorphins, the right dopamine hits, and then go for some deep strategy. Also get people to help you with strategy. Don't think you'll do it by yourself, but facts, figures, detail, no emotion. Stick to that. Got to have the right set of values, right team code of conduct, and then you've got to build your inner resilience. Your inner compass has to shine bright. That is about alignment, mentally, physically. I use the word spiritually, but I mean meaning. You've got to have those things in play. Get them in play. This journey is going to be wonderful.
Well, what a valuable way to close. And to those of you listening, a great reminder that balancing a successful career and a successful life is always a holistic process. I do hope this conversation has given you a deeper insight into how performers think, plan and stay aligned as they move through different stages of their journey. If you'd like to explore any of these ideas further, you can find extended interviews, expert insights and additional resources at www.balancing-act.co.uk. And of course, you can go deeper into all of this in my book, Balancing Act, Mastering Work, Wealth and Wellbeing, the Formula for Executive Success. Thank you so much for joining us today.